This is your host, Mary Swafield, and welcome to the Wedpreneur podcast. Join me and my guests each week as I take a deep dive into wedding business best practices, examine challenges facing our industry, and interview wedding industry experts and thought leaders who will share their strategies for taking your wedding business to the next level. Whether you're new in the industry or a seasoned pro, each episode is filled with valuable information aimed to help you build and grow the wedding business that you are dreaming about. I'm ready if you are, so let's get started. Entrepreneurs, thanks for tuning in today. If this is your first time joining us, a special hello to you. I hope you enjoy this episode, and if you do, well, I hope you'll become a subscriber. For my loyal listeners out there, I just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you how much I appreciate you. I am so excited to share that we are nearing the 10,000 download mark on this podcast. I can hardly believe it. None of this would be possible without your continued support and loyalty, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now, let's talk about this episode. I hope you guys are ready to jump right in today because I know I am. Today on the show, I'm joined by Meryl Snow of Snowstorm Solutions. Meryl is a sales consultant in the event industry, and let me tell you, she knows her stuff. Now, I will share with you that we had some technical challenges while recording this. The connection kind of cut in and out a few times. Gotta love technology. So there may be a few sections where you can tell I had to make some edits, and they aren't the smoothest edits I've ever had to do, but it's still a really great interview with a ton of valuable information. Okay, so let me tell you about Meryl. Meryl wakes up each morning with a big smile on her face because she knows that her clients are crushing it. They're using what she teaches to reach their goals and increase sales within a matter of weeks or often even days with her laser-focused training techniques. Meryl has spent 28 years in the special event and catering industry as co-founder of Festivities Events, along with its subsidiaries, Offshoots Decor, and Philadelphia's Picnic Company. She is also the author of Booked It and Cha-Ching, plus 3 how-to style and design videos. Her philosophies have proved successful for not only her own business, but also many other companies, trade organizations, and universities have benefited from her training and advice. Meryl has worked throughout the U.S., and her particular areas of focus are sales and marketing, as well as design and branding. She provides consulting, coaching, and training services for a wide range of clients in the special events industry. In 2017, Meryl introduced a revolutionary new approach to sales for the special events industry. Coined the Triangle Method, this digital training platform has been created for owners to maximize their sales team's efficiency, significantly improve qualifying and closing ratios, and increase sales as much as 40%. All right, you guys, are you ready for this? Let's get right to the interview. Meryl, welcome to the Smart Business for Wedding Pros podcast.
Thank you, Mary. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. You know what? I'm so thrilled you're here today to share your insights. You may not know this, but I've actually been a fan of yours since I started in the industry, and I've attended several of your presentations at conferences before.
And you still want me to talk to you? And
I do.
That's wonderful.
Well,
I got to be honest with you. I'm impressed with what you've done with Wedpreneur. I mean, it's really nice. I did my homework and really researched it. Did a great job with that.
I appreciate that so much. It's, it's a labor of love. It really is.
It is. It definitely is. Are you still planning too?
Yeah. So I'm the co-owner of Smitten & Co., which is a wedding planning and design company here. So yes, I still do both.
I love the name. How did you come up with that?
Trial and error, let me tell you.
I love it. So cute.
Thank you. Today we're going to be talking about sales strategies for wedding pros, a topic I'm extremely excited to dive into. But before we get started in that, can you share some of your background information with our listeners?
I sure can. It's an exciting business, and you know what? I could talk sales all day. But how I got into this, my husband and I, we were going to open up a string of delis in 1987. And at that time, delis were just delis. We were going to do these gourmet delis, which are called artisan delis right now. So it wasn't heard of then. And we were really excited. So we found our first one. And we put all of our money in it, and we even borrowed money from our parents and friends, and we were ready to start this. We were 25 years old, and everything was going well until the owner of that deli changed the price, jacked it up $25,000 because of capital gains. and we were crushed. I mean, because we had everything we had in that, so we couldn't buy this deli.
Oh.
Then I get pregnant, which I wasn't expecting, and I get pregnant, and then we catered my daughter's christening because Andy and I were always in the restaurant business, and we worked for caterers in college, so that was like common for us. And I always liked design and all that. So everyone said, "Why don't you go into the catering business?" And at that time, catering was the redheaded stepchild. I mean, it was awful because it was, steam table type of food. It was just kind of put out there. So we really did our research, and we looked at different catering companies that have been around forever and some new ones that were popping up. And we did see some innovation coming in. So I was so excited. My husband and I said, you know what, we could be the pioneers to this and really change the evolution of catering. And that was really exciting for us. And we did that. We started that. And we haven't looked back since. I mean, it's been a whirlwind.
So today, Meryl, we're going to talk about 5 sales tips that wedding pros can focus on to help them meet their sales goals. To make it easy for our listeners, just as an FYI, for anybody who's driving, I'm going to put together a free cheat sheet of these for your reference. You can find that at thewedpreneur.com/27 download. So let's get into these 5 strategies, Meryl. What is the first strategy you'd like to share with us?
The first one I call is email to conversation. And that is when those 5 brides that went to that venue that is looking for an event planner, they go to your website. We went through all of that. They go to your website. What do they do next? They go to your contact page, right?
Yeah.
And what are they asking for?
Information.
Prices?
Mm-hmm.
Right, information, right. And it is so frustrating because we'll send something back to them. We try to schedule an appointment, and then they don't return our calls. And is that familiar to you?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a very common problem people have, is that ghosting.
It is a big problem. It is a big problem. A couple of years ago, I had a true salesperson as an event planner, and he says to me, "I don't get it. Every night before I go to sleep, I can talk to God, but I can't talk to these damn brides. They won't return my call." And I thought that was just so funny. And it was a big problem for us. And way I come up with all these techniques is that I gather my sales team together, and we find out what are the challenges. And that was a huge challenge to them. And this is about, I guess, 6 or 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was frustrating because we weren't taking internet inquiries seriously, because we felt at that time, if they were serious, they would pick up the phone and call. Then we realized, no, millennials don't do that. Mm-hmm. They are still doing everything by the email or whatever.
Yeah.
So text. And so we try to figure this out. How are we going to stand out? Because what they're doing is they're going to all 5 of those companies. They're cutting, pasting. Here's a perfect example. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to read an email to you that was sent.
Perfect.
Good morning. My fiance and I are considering having our wedding at Greystone Hall. As you're on the list of preferred vendors, I wanted to reach out and inquire about your catering options, package, price ranges, and available dates. We're deciding between August 19th and August 26th, blah, blah, blah. Any details that you could provide would be appreciated. Thanks so much. Now, you know that this bride, Katie, is copying and pasting all of these to those 5 different caterers, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that's when we started with. We say, okay, what are we doing now? Right now, we're sending them a whole thank you for the opportunity, the whole template email. We're sending them some menu suggestions. We're sending them some videos. We're sending them overload of information, right?
Yeah.
And it's not getting us anywhere. So what we decided to do is, okay, the subject line of this bride's email was Greystone Hall. So we decided we were going to change the subject line, and we were going to change it to, "You chose my favorite venue." And the reason we did that is because, all 5 of those other companies are sending basically the same type of email back.
Yep.
And really, that's why she's only looking for pricing. Because if we sent our pricing there, which a lot of people do, then what it does, it rules us out from the beginning because our prices will be higher, and she won't know why we're different, but that's how she's doing it. So we figured, okay, since all these caterers are going to be sending it within the hour, so in her inbox is going to be Greystone Hall, read, Greystone Hall, read, Greystone Hall, read, Greystone Hall, right?
Yeah.
So now she sees, you've picked my favorite venue. Well, she's going to open that one right up. So check on that. That's good. Okay, then we would change it completely different. We will not send her any information. And we would, well, here, I'll read it to you. Katie, great to hear from you. Greystone will provide a unique backdrop for your summer wedding. Elizabeth is wonderful to work with and will assist in coordinating all the details so it becomes stress-free. My day is fairly open, and I would love the opportunity to speak with you directly about your wedding details. Please let me know. Would you be available to chat this afternoon or this evening? ? And that's it.
I love
That's
that.
it. Mm-hmm. Okay. So then Bernice had sent this at 12:22, and at 12:41, Katie sends it back and says, "Hi, Bernice. Thanks for getting back to me. I am available to chat this evening at 6:15. I also have flexibility tomorrow afternoon. Thanks, and I look forward to speaking with you." Now, this is gold. We now made an appointment. We have an appointment. And because we know, and you know as well as anybody, that when you can actually speak to a client, you'll book it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, all really good salespeople always say to them, if I could just talk to them, I know I can book it.
Yeah.
So that now we have this meeting. Before we were sending it and we were following up and then we were calling them and we were doing all kinds of stuff. But this truly works. So we tried it again. And this was in 2000, I think like 12 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So here's another one. Now this is a millennial talking to a millennial. Hi, Sierra. Smithfield is a great choice. I'd love to hear more about your thoughts for the wedding. Do you have time today for a call, either during the day or early evening? Thank you, Doug. And Doug sent that at 3:18. And at 3:18, she sends back, early evening works for me. Can't wait for you to call. So it's like she's texting back. They're texting back and forth in this email. So this is huge. This is like gold to be able to get to that conversation, which we all know is so important.
Absolutely.
So this, even though it's short, this little technique, and it is so easy to do. So you want to change the subject line. Mm-hmm. You want to keep your email as brief as possible. Don't send anything with it because remember, they've already been to your website. They know what you can do. Mm-hmm. You don't have to keep sending stuff.
Yeah.
And the most important thing is to end it in a question because when you end in a question, we're human. All humans will end in a question. Answer a question. But if that question was in the first paragraph, it would never be answered.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is your first technique is email to conversation.
I love that. And I just want to say, I'm so glad that you said that because I actually teach that exact same method because, and we've tried it many, many ways, obviously, over 10 years in business, where we used to send out all of our package, right? All of our welcome package, all pricing, our bios, basically the whole meal deal.
Right.
And it used to work. But now what I started noticing is when we did that, we stopped getting responses back. And I realized, you know what, we're leaving all of our sales talent off the table. Like we're essentially saying, read through this, have no emotional connection because it's just words on paper, and then get back to us. And we're leaving all of the work onto them. And once we decided, no, we're not going to do that anymore, we're going to find something in their initial inquiry email to connect with them on, whether it's their venue or, the date of their wedding or whatever it may be. Find a connection point to mention and use that to leverage our experience where we can say, oh, we've done so many weddings there. It's one of our favorites or whatever that might be. And then push for either the in-person consult or the phone call, whatever it's going to be, push for that right away and use that connection where you're either, speaking to them or in front of them to go through what you would have previously sent off, because it's a lot easier if you have that connection. And that's really what you're trying to establish, right? You're trying to establish the connection.
Totally.
You're not trying to get picked because you're the cheapest. Nobody wants that.
No.
So I love that first technique. It's brilliant. I love it.
But remember, you have to end it in a question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And keep it really, really short. All right. So the next technique is, it's not the close, it's the open. And everybody always says, go for the close, go for the close, go for the close. But it's not the close, it's the opening. And if you have a really strong opening, you're closing all throughout this whole process. All right, so let's take the those 5 brides that went to that venue that got one bride that got the 5 different industry pros, right?
Yeah.
They went to the websites, they went to the email to conversation, and now you're actually having a conversation with them. What you're going to do is this bride is actually going to call them. And the first caterer will say, well, congratulations. When is your wedding? How many people? Where are you having it? The 4 W's, the who, what, where, when, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's asking these same questions. And I get that some companies need to know exactly what the date is because they can only do one event a day. And that's okay to get that early on, but that's all you need. Because right now we need to make a connection. Mm-hmm. So this one bride has talked to all 4 caterers right now. And they've all said the same thing, basically, congratulations, when is it, where is it? Oh my God, that place is so wonderful. Were you thinking about incorporating this, or what is your vision? Oh dear God, if any event professional ever says that again, what is your vision? That is just awful. But we do have to understand who they are. Mm-hmm. But usually it goes to what's your vision, and then they'll talk a little bit. Okay, great. I'll send you this, this, and this, and then I'll follow up in a week. Right? Mm-hmm. This goes on for the first 4 companies.
Yeah.
Now, what if the next salesperson says to them, oh my gosh, I love this. How did you get engaged? Tell me about the proposal. Now, this bride if that's the first question out of your mouth, this bride is so caught off guard because the other 4 in front of her were like the who, what, where, when. Mm-hmm. Now this bride is kind of excited now because, first of all, what bride do you know that doesn't want to talk about how she got engaged, right? So now they're talking, and it's funny because she may say, well, we were on top of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm thinking, cha-ching, right? Or she's saying, well, we were at Denny's, and he put my ring in the parfait, and I'm thinking, okay, let's see what we can do with this. But you're getting an idea of who you're talking to. Mm-hmm. So the next question I would ask is, how do you want your guests to feel when they leave your wedding? That's really powerful because she may say, I want them to think it was the best party and lots of liquor and dancing. Or she may say, I want them to think it was the most sophisticated, elegant, beautiful wedding they've ever been to. We're talking to 2 different brides here, right?
Yep.
But how do we know who we're talking to unless we ask these questions? Another question we would ask is, what is your must-have? Mm-hmm. We need to know what's so important to her does she have to have? And then we would ask is, what's your deal breaker? The kind of information that we're getting from this is huge, especially for the first conversation. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying, you're asking these questions, but there's conversation going back and forth. You're just not boom, 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 asking questions and getting their answers. Yeah. You want to have, just like you're talking to your friend.
Absolutely.
Then I would ask, especially as a younger bride, I would say, so I bet you've been to a lot of weddings this year, huh? And she'd say, yeah, I've been to 10. And I'd say, oh my. And for me, I would say, yeah, my daughter's been to 12. So then I would say, well, what 3 things did you love about those weddings? Mm-hmm. And now getting her to bring in what she really liked. And then my next question would be, what are the 3 things you didn't like? Yeah. Because I know what her things that she didn't like. She may like, oh, I hated that they had dancing in between choruses, or I hated the photo booth, or I hated whatever it was, we're going to know. But it's important not to ask these 2 questions in one sentence. You can't say, what did you love and what didn't you like? Yeah. Because you're only going to answer one of the questions.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So that's why you want to do it separate. And then the other one would be, do you have a Pinterest board? Pinterest is not going away, guys. And, we know that, right? It's just not going away. So when we ask that, we always say, can I jump on? And quickly she sends us the link. And there we are. We open it up. And there is her whole wedding all laid out for us. I could tell if she likes rustic. I could tell if she's a DIY bride. I could tell if she likes bling and glitter. I could tell if she's all over the place. But you really can get a good concept. So just with these questions, oh my gosh, we got so much information about her. We may find out that her mother-in-law's a jerk. Or, there's so many things that we could find out with this.
Meryl, I love this so much. I'm going to interrupt you for a second because this is I'm so glad I'm talking to you because if anything, you are sharing information that I have felt for a long time. And people sometimes look at me like I have 3 heads when I talk about this, but I can tell you that even the very first consultation I ever did, my first week of business, really, I prepared a whole bunch of questions based on, there was no information. We didn't have all of, the free information on the internet that we have now. And the first questions I asked were those same questions. How did you get engaged? Tell me about your proposal. And I went through a lot of questions about what do you guys like to do together? And how do you spend your free time together before I ever got to a wedding question. And I didn't know if I was doing it right or not. But interestingly...
Oh, you're doing it right, kiddo.
Yes,
you're doing it right.
She called me back right away the very next day and she said, we're 100% booking with you. And just so you know, we interviewed 10 other planners and you were the first person who asked us anything to do with who we are and our personal lives and what we do together and seemed to want to really get to know us. And right there, I was like, okay, that's important information. And
that's validation. That's good.
Yeah. And to this day, that has been our strategy with consultations. And it's a genuine strategy. We're not just filling in blanks on a form. We feel in order to do our job to the best of our abilities, we really need to have this connection and really get to understand them better. The more we know their story, the better we can translate that into a day that they're going to love, right?
Exactly. So you're spot on. You are spot on.
So exciting. Okay, so what comes after the opening?
Then the qualifying, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, the open. Yes. Then is the budget. So we had this great conversation with them. For our first conversation, we're like pals on the phone now. We're just talking about all kinds of stuff. But now I have to figure out if this bride can afford us. Right. So, and you can't ask the budget question because they're not going to tell you, even though they do know, they're not going to tell you because they think that you're going to use it all up.
Yeah.
So they're just going to say, oh, I don't know. So then we had to know if they could afford us. So in that same conversation, because I refuse to send proposals out before I know that they can afford us. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to waste that time. Everybody knows how long it takes to do a proposal.
Yeah.
So before that, so we're in this whole conversation. I know what she likes. I know what she doesn't like. I'm talking as a caterer, we didn't talk about food because we don't have to. I know what my prices are. And everybody, florists, you don't have to either. You know what your prices are. You have an idea of what this bride is and what she's wanting, even without talking about the actual products, right? So now I'm going to say, so Mary, I love your ideas. This is going to be so much fun. Let me see if I can recap this. And now I'm going to recap our conversation according to what I pulled out about the wedding.
Yeah.
So I'd say, okay, so for this sophisticated wedding of yours, Mary, you are going to have the ceremony by the pond at Greystone. Oh my God, how beautiful. And then your guests are going to walk up to the path and we'll do heavy butler hors d'oeuvres and the music will be playing. And you already did your receiving line down there, so you don't have to worry about that. And then your guests will be ushered into the pavilion, and where we will start with the toast and blah, 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 and going on. And I know you don't want dancing between courses, so we'll go quickly through that. We'll serve the entree. We'll serve this out. We'll serve the entree. We'll go right into cake cutting. And then the dancing begins because I know how important that is to you. And I would be bringing up the important things, the stuff that she doesn't like, all that stuff that we talked about. So then I said, do I have that right? And she'll say, yes, that's exactly it. Because then I'm the first person that actually told her a story about her wedding. She had it in her head, but nobody else had verbalized it to her like this.
Yeah.
So I quickly did it, but I would go into detail if I was going. So now she's all excited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I would say to her, okay, I said, with that information, I can give you a range. It would be between $135 to $145 per person.
Mm-hmm.
Then I pause, and then I say, are you comfortable with that? And then I shut up, because she's going to either say, yes, does it include this, this, and this?
Mm-hmm.
Or she's say, no, I only have $90 a person to spend.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I know if she can afford us or can't afford us. Now I'm not going to hang up on her, because if she says she has $90 to spend, I'm not going to hang up on her. I'm going to do something else, which is part B of this, what we call, so the big one of the other one was, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah.
And then the part B is the event cost analysis. So if she says she's comfortable with that, great. You get into a meeting. You can go into the more details. You've got her, so you know exactly where she is, and you know that she's your type of client.
Yep.
All right. So now, what if she says that she's not, and she says, no, I only have $90. Now, she's really, really upset right now. And because she's really fallen for you, because you're the first person that told her the story, that she felt really connected with. You had a great conversation, and now she thinks that she can't afford the wedding that she really wants.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this next technique is called event cost analysis. So instead of saying, well, I'm sorry, our prices started at 135 or whatever it is, I would say to her, okay, don't worry about it. All right, Mary, do you have a calculator on hand? And she'll say, yes. And then I'll say, do you have a pencil and paper? And she'll say, yes. And then I'll say, okay, I'm going to shoot out some numbers, and I need you to write them down. And the reason I do this is because I've got to get her head away from thinking, oh my God, I can't afford my dream wedding. I have to have her do something, because if I just talk throughout this without having her do something, nothing's going to connect. So now I have to give her a job. And this job is to write down these numbers that I'm going to. So I'm going to say, okay, you ready, Mary? And she'll say yes. And then I'll say, okay, the venue you chose is $4,500. Okay, write $4,500 down. She's writing $4,500. Then you said you wanted a band versus a DJ. That's $3,000. Okay, write down $3,000. And you said you wanted very sophisticated but really simple decor, and write $3,500 down. And say, okay, where are we? Add this up. And she'll add it up, and she'll tell me the number. I don't know what it was, like $10,000. Mm-hmm. And we haven't even gotten to my services yet. So maybe she only has $12,000 to spend. So that leaves $2,000 for my services. That's not going to work. And she sees it right then and there. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So then she's going to say, I need more money. I'm just going to have to ask my father for more money. because really, when you think about it, if a father gives his daughter $12,000 for one day party, he thinks that's a lot of money, right? Yeah. He doesn't know this stuff. But if she comes back and says, it's a lot more than that, I need $20,000, they'll say, okay, $20,000. Mm-hmm. Or it could happen to be that this is all I have. We're paying it by ourselves, and I don't have any more money.
Yeah.
So then I would either try to change the type of event it is. I might try to do a picnic wedding. I may try to let's just do an 8 o'clock service and have strawberries and champagne, and try to figure out in her budget. Does it work all the time? No, but she will never forget you and how you spent the time. Instead of saying, sorry, our minimum is $15,000. and hanging out.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people do. A lot of people do that. And she will never forget and she'll tell her friends about this. So this cost analysis is a really good technique because it shows that you care, and you don't know if they have more money. You just don't know. So,
I also love that because in my experience, I've had couples who have said no to us only to turn around and refer us to someone else. And
exactly.
I think that every potential client is a potential referral, whether or not they book you. And I feel that often wedding pros make the mistake of thinking that no is no is no and don't see the relationship through to its end, whether the end is after the wedding or whether the end is the end of that consultation call. If you treat everyone as though they are your clients, then that can turn into future business.
Exactly. I mean, here's a perfect example of that. There was a venue that went with an exclusive caterer, and we didn't get the bid. We didn't make it. However, we still invited her to every single function that we had, and she came. And finally, she says, I think I want you as our exclusive caterer. So after like 2 years, but it still works. We treated her like a client.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't have any workers with her. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Oh, one of the questions I really like to ask, I forgot about this, is what comes to mind when you think of a professional, I'll say photographer. What comes to mind when you think of a professional photographer?
Well, that's a great question.
So a bride may say, I don't even want a photographer. My mother is making me get a photographer. I can't stand the pose shots and the lights and the being pulled from here to here. I just can't stand all that stuff. But I'm only doing it because my mother wants one. Well, that's a huge amount of information because now we know that this bride is only going to book the cheapest photographer because she doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
That's not what is important to her. So, but what if that photographer sent a proposal saying no canned shots or no canned lighting, only candid shots, artistic, whatever it is, blah, 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 blah. And she's going to open this up and she's going to say, oh my God, he gets me.
Yeah.
And he could be $1,000 more than every other photographer. But now it's why she wants him is because he is offering something that is really important to her. He would have never gotten the job, especially if it was $1,000 more, if he didn't ask these kind of questions. So asking questions is so important. And it's not the who, what, where questions.
Yeah, I love it.
It irks me. It irks me when I go into a company. I was just at a design company, and I'm sitting in their office, and their phones are ringing, and the salespeople are answering them. But I noticed that they're doing the who, what, where, when, and then hanging up from them quickly. I mean, one person maybe asked a couple other questions, but they want to quickly get off the phone. And I get it because they're busy. They have proposals to write. You know, they have to go into the design studio or whatever reason. But if you actually get a conversation with the bride, oh my God, you keep that conversation going. Mm-hmm. And a first conversation should be around 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah. Especially if because you're qualifying them, and if you realize that you're going to save time on spending 45 minutes on a proposal that it was never qualified for in the first place,
absolutely,
right? You're going to save so much time on follow-up phone calls and things like that. People forget about that.
I think that's
okay. All right, so then. Where are we now?
We're on step number 4, which I believe you said are features versus benefits, which we talked about a little bit, but can you just summarize it for us?
Yes. So basically, features tell and benefits sell.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay? And because we're selling experiences, folks, not things. We're not selling products. We're selling experiences. So... and it evokes emotions in you.
Yes.
Okay. How many kids do you have, Mary?
I have 3.
3?
Yes.
Wow. That's a lot. How old are they?
They are 10, 14, and 16.
Oh my God, you're in a hard time of your life.
It's awful. I'm not going to lie.
Oh yeah, I could relate. Okay, all right. So remember back when they were younger and you had Legos, right?
Oh, so much. Yep.
Okay, so you can visualize these Legos.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what the features of these Legos would be.
They are made up of different colors. They have different sizes. They come in packages with various amounts. There's special ones that are little Lego people or tools. That's about it.
Yeah, and they're sturdy and it promotes creativity, right? You can see that. You can see that all listed on the box, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So tell me what the benefits of these Legos are.
They keep my kids busy and out of my hair.
Okay, you got it. That's exactly it. And you paid attention, which I'm glad. Yes, because if you were to sell these Legos and you just said they're sturdy, they're durable, they promote creativity, they do this, you're listing all the features. But what if I were to tell you, can you imagine your son sitting there playing with those Legos? And you would be imagining it, and you're smiling, and then you're thinking, ooh, I have time for a glass of wine, or I could watch my show, or I can get some work done. It's what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So that's how we have to sell things. We have to sell things because people will buy things. They will buy it if they know why they're buying it.
Absolutely.
Right? I'm going to give you a story. Have you heard my red dress story?
No.
Okay. So I am going to the mall. And as where I parked, I have to walk through Nordstrom's to get to the mall. And as I'm walking through Nordstrom's, I spot this red dress. So I pause and I beeline over there. I pick it up. I turn it around. It's really, really pretty. I look at the price tag and it's $650. I say, yikes, that's a lot for me for a red dress, for like a regular dress. So I put down the dress, but it sure is pretty. So I go to the mall, I do my shopping, I'm finished my shopping, I have to walk back through Nordstrom's, and then I pause because I see that red dress. And I'm like, you know what? It won't hurt if I just try it on. So I go into the dressing room, I put on the dress. Oh my God, Mary, I look fabulous in this dress. It hid all my problem areas. It hid everything. It made me look thinner, not thinner. I'm chubby, so it made me less chubby. So I mean, it was so exciting that I bought this $650 dress. Why? Because the way it made me feel, right?
Yes,
There was no way I was going to buy that dress for $650. There just wasn't. But the way it made me feel, I bought that dress.
I love it.
So, I bring it home, and my husband says to me, you better wear that damn dress every day. I guess he didn't say that. But, yeah. So they will buy things if they understand why. Okay. So now our next, this is it. This is where the benefits over the features that we were talking about. Now, when you are pretty much at the close, you've done everything. You had a great first meeting. You know that they can afford you. You sent the proposal. They like the proposal, and now you're ready to book. So you've done all those things, and now you want to move forward. So we've got to figure out if they're ready to do this. And I'm going to take one of my features and turn it into benefits.
Okay.
And we all have these features. Our features are service, details, right? Product. I mean, we all have the same thing. Our team is so fabulous. Whatever it is, we're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So if we're all saying the same thing at this point, then it's just going over their head, and they're thinking, well, yeah, that's what you do for a living. I would hope you have, great service, great team, great food, great whatever, great details, whatever it is. So now we have to take our features and turn them into benefits, something that is what's in it for me.
Yeah.
So there's a couple that we use that work really well. So I would say to the bride, our service is so fabulous, which means your friends are not going to be waiting at the bar for a drink. Now, the reason I did the which means because I have to bring it home to that bride of what's important to her. Now, we know, you and I both know, and your whole audience knows, that brides plan their weddings for their friends.
Yeah.
Right? They're not doing it for Uncle Sam or somebody else or whatever. They plan it for their friends, and they want to make it better than their other friends. So we know that. So that bride would be totally mortified if she knew her friends were waiting at the bar for a drink, right?
Uh-huh.
So then it brings it to her and says, oh my God, I got to ask the other caterer how many bartenders they have, right? And, it's bringing attention, especially when you know if your competitor doesn't have the services that you have. Okay, so that's the first one. So then we also would do is our food or our flowers are so stunning, which means Instagram is going to be on fire. I mean, that's huge. Who doesn't want their wedding on Instagram? And I wouldn't say our flowers. I would say your flowers, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
But Instagram would be on fire. And they're like, oh, my God, yes. Or, our food is so amazing that Pinterest is going to go crazy. Everybody's going to be pinning it. So these are things that bring home to them. And they get very, very excited because it is all about what's in it for me. Just like that red dress.
Yeah.
It's how it made you feel. So that is the pricing of how for features and benefits.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that ties into what you were saying earlier about the questions that you're asking to begin with. And one of the key things that I think we sometimes forget to do, a really simple thing that is hard for some people, is to listen. You have to listen to they're giving you so many clues throughout that conversation. And if they say to you, you know what, I really care about making sure that my guests don't have to wait for a drink, they will say that to you. And you can then flip that at as you get toward the end, talking about those features and benefits, and make sure that you're addressing what those priorities and pain points that they've identified during your conversation. You need to use those to your advantage. First, it shows you're really listening to them. And second, all they want to know is how you're going to go about making sure that their priorities are met and that you're making it all about them. It's about what their priorities are, not just what every other couple wants and needs, right?
Exactly. You nailed it. That's exactly right.
Awesome.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now we've gone through the features versus benefits conversation. What happens next?
Then we have to go for the close. Then we have to ask for the business. I mean, because and that is one of the big things I see, that people just don't ask for the business.
They don't. I agree.
They don't. And in one of the surveys that I did, I asked, what is your best closing line? And people are saying all different kinds of stuff. And, if you don't give me a credit card now, you might lose the date, which is awful. Awful. And there was all these closing lines that were just so cliche, right? In my mind, there is no closing line. That you've been closing all along. And all you have to do, you've done everything. You've done your questioning, so you know exactly what they are. She likes the proposal. They like the samples if you needed to do samples for anything. They understand the features and the benefits, and they know that you're the right person. They love you, and there's no reason for them not to book. So all you have to do is say to them, well, let's get you on the calendar.
Yeah.
And that is it. So now, what if they get to that point and they say, well, I'm not ready to book right now. And we have to think about it or whatever. And you let them walk out the door, right? Which is like the worst thing in the world to do. The worst thing. So there's two techniques here. The first one is, I would ask, while they're still in the office, is what is your hesitation? When you ask that question, that is powerful, because they're going to say to you, let's say they have to talk to their father, or they have another meeting with another company. I mean, it could be a lot of reasons, or it could be really bad, as in they hated the sampling, or they hated the floor plan, or whatever it is. I mean, something that you could fix, but at least you know where you stand. Mm-hmm. But let's say they did have, they have to talk to their parents, or they have another meeting or something. They're just not going to book, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to tell you a little story. I know you're tired of my stories, but they ring home, right?
I love your stories. Go for it.
Thank you. All right. So my husband and I were going to buy a car, and we planned on Saturday to go to a whole bunch of car dealerships and buy this car. We knew what we wanted. We did our research, and we knew exactly what we wanted. So we were really going to get the best price. So we went to the first car dealer, and right before we go in, Andy says to me, look, like, I'm negotiating, so don't get all excited and say, ooh, red. You know, I love that. And don't get all excited. So you're really negotiating for me. I was like, okay, fine, because we're looking today, right?
Yeah.
I said, okay. So we get in, we find the car, we love it, it's red. We are in the sales manager's office, and he's giving us the numbers, and he's going through them, and then he leaves. Says he has to go do something or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And Andy and I are looking at it, and we're looking at it, the price. It was like, I said to Andy, Andy, it's only $100 difference from what the Blue Book value said for this or this. And it's like, and he said, yeah, you know, it is. He said, let's just get it and forget about, you know, going to the rest of the things. I was like, yeah, let's do that. This is the only trick that I've taken from the car sales business, is because I think they're just ruthless otherwise, except for this. They leave the room because they know you have to discuss it, right?
Yeah.
So now what happens now is we're going to buy this car. But if he didn't leave the room, we would say, thank you very much. Go out as we're in the parking lot and say, you know what, that was a pretty good price. It was only $100 difference. All right, let's go to the next one. Which was ridiculous, because we wouldn't have gone back in. And that's what we do not want our brides to leave our offices saying, oh, you know what, I really like that. All right, well, on to the next meeting, or let's talk to my father, right?
Yeah.
So I have to capture them right then and there, because there is no way I'm going to let these people go. Mm-hmm. And the next technique is express refund. It is the express refund. And what this is I'm going to tell them that, okay, I get that you have another meeting with the company, and I want you to go. I really do, because it just shows you how fabulous we are, you know. But I'm not going to let you leave because I want to do your wedding. And this always bothered me, because there's 8 other event producers, and we only can do a certain amount of events. And I said this to Andy, and I said, you know, it's not fair just because my meeting happened after Bernice's meeting that I don't get this date. Mm-hmm. And he says, I get it, but we can't pencil people in because it's too much of a headache. We just can't do that. And he said, but let me think about it. So he came back to me a couple days, and he came up with this solution for me. So what it is the express refund. And it clearly states in letterhead, in large font, not little tiny font, it says, since we can't guarantee that your date will remain open, we recommend locking into your date with the $2,000 deposit. Because we realize this is a big decision, we offer a grace period. If you change your mind by, when is the other meeting, did you say? It's next Friday. Okay, so if you change your mind by Monday, we will return your deposit in full promptly. This way you have the security of knowing you have your date while you're confirming your decision. So I will say to them, after I've told them the whole Andy story, I'll say, Andy came up with this, and it is such a great thing because it's a win-win. Nobody gets hurt on this. Let me go get it. So you have to leave the room because you've explained it somewhat to them. Yeah. Like they just have to leave a deposit and they get their money back. But you have to leave the room so they could say, well, yeah, you really like them. We don't want to lose the date. Now she says we can still go to the meeting or talk to our father, whatever it is. Let's just do it. So you come back and now they're ready to sign it. Now, this is huge because they're giving me a deposit, and now I'm letting them walk out the door. Because if I didn't, so I got to tell you how much this works. All right, so in the 22 years that we've been doing this, how many deposits do you think we had to give back?
Not very many.
No, 8.
Wow.
8 in 22 years. And some of them could be, well, they didn't like us as much as the other person, or it could be that the wedding didn't happen or whatever reason. Mm-hmm. But that is why. I mean, and it truly, truly works. The reason it works, it's usually the groom. It's let's say they have a tasting with another caterer, or they have a meeting with the florist or whatever, and they'll say, why are we going to this other meeting? You really like festivities. I mean, you really like them. So you say, yeah, you're right. We don't have to go. And then they continue just keeping us booked us.
Awesome.
It works. It truly, truly works. I know I stumbled through that, but when you give them the actual verbiage for this, mm-hmm. they'll understand it really well.
I really like that. And I'm actually taking notes here. That's why I paused. We've done something similar in the past. But I like the way that applies to sort of the entire service. So what we've typically done in terms of, because we do design proposals, and of course we run into the same, never-ending issue of spending a whole bunch of time on a design proposal only to have them take it to someone cheaper to execute.
Exactly.
Right? So we instituted a fee for our proposals. So when we did our initial consultation, if they decided they wanted to go ahead and have us create a design proposal, we took ours was actually non-refundable. So the way we did it was, it's going to cost you X amount of dollars for us to do this proposal meeting, but here's the thing. If you love the proposal, then that fee comes off your total fees. It's not an extra fee. It comes off of the rest of your fees. And if you don't, well, you get to keep the proposal, so you have a fully designed wedding anyways, and we keep your deposit. And in all the years I did that, I only had one person who ever came to us and said, well, we don't actually want to work with you, so you keep, and we got paid for it, right? So we got paid for all the work.
That's good.
They walked away with a wedding design, which maybe they didn't like it, I don't know, or maybe they did go to someone cheaper. But at least at the end of the day, I didn't feel ripped off, because I put so much heart and soul into it, and they felt that they got value for their money anyways, regardless, right? So, but I like this concept of, you know what, let's put down a deposit. It's 100% refundable if, you end up going to work with someone else or whatever happens. And I think the key to that is to be really clear about what that deadline is, that drop dead, make a decision deadline, right?
You put date right in there. Yeah. And it truly, truly works, because they may say that, my parents are out of town, they won't be here for 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, well, let's make it for 2 weeks and a day, or whatever it is. And so as long as they know that, you want to work with them, you are connected. This is my kind of wedding, that type of thing, that we did, a year of planning or 6 months of whatever it is. I think, Mary, you should do a podcast on ethics in the industry.
Have you done love that?
Yeah, because and do it like a panel or something, because I would love that, because there's so many people that operate unethically, and that I think that we need to teach these people coming up that they need to follow the ethics of our industry.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to summarize these 5 strategies. I love them. So much information here, Meryl. This is fantastic. I've taken a ton of notes. So the first strategy was the email to conversation. The second was the qualifying questions. Then we had the budget. Then features versus benefits, and finally the close. So to remind everybody, you can download a cheat sheet, because I know there's been so much information here. Meryl, I'm so grateful that you shared so much with us today. You can download a free cheat sheet of these strategies at thewedpreneur.com/27download. That's thewedpreneur.com, 27 download. You can print them, expand on them, develop a sales plan for your business. It'll be a great tool for you guys to stay motivated and hit your track, or hit your goals when it comes to sales. Before I let you go, Meryl, though, I have one final question for you. And I know this is kind of hard. I do this to everybody. I put them on the spot with one big question, but what's the biggest lesson you would say that you've learned about sales in your career?
It's actually quite easy, and it's from my father. I remember him saying to me earlier on that, Meryl, you're not running a catering business. You're running a business. And no, I'm sorry. He didn't say, you're not a caterer. You're running a business. So treat it like a business. Mm-hmm. And I think that was really important to me because at that time, like I would say, just to make the client happy, I would say, oh, throw this in and throw that in. Oh, so what? There's more flowers, or throw another case of whatever in. Mm-hmm. And when he said that to me, it really strung something with me that we are running a business and we have to treat it like a business. And in our industry, there's a lot of small businesses, and we get very, very friendly with our team, and it's hard because we become a family. Yeah. But you have to run it like a business. And I think that was the best advice that I've ever given.
I think that's really great advice. And personally, that resonates really strongly with me because I had that same aha moment at some point in business. And one of the things that I recognized, and in fact, the entire reason the wedpreneur came to be was recognizing that our industry has a tendency, because we love what we do so much, we have a tendency to neglect the business piece of it. And we see ourselves as creatives first and business owners second. And I think that's why, unfortunately, so many businesses struggle. So many creative businesses struggle. Mm-hmm. And my mandate, my goal with the wedpreneur is 100% to help people become better business owners. I think that business and your art are two separate things, equally important. But if you want to be able to continue to do your art and to be creative and have your craft, you're going to have to learn how to be a good business person.
Right. And I have one other advice, and on that same lines, if you can't do it, if you feel that your strengths are not in business, just get somebody that their strengths are in business. Don't try to stumble through it.
Absolutely.
There's enough education out there. There's enough people out there. And I think that you would be, at the end, you'll be very, very happy that you did, because you can't be everything in your business. You just can't. You have to rely on other people.
I think that's great advice. Meryl, you have been such a great inspiration, and you've given so much of your experience and wisdom with our audience today. Can you share what services or programs you offer in case any of our listeners want to look you up and have a conversation?
Well, yes, but first, with everybody that's downloading those techniques, if you have any questions, or if you need clarification on anything, or if a technique didn't work, I want you to email me, Meryl@merylsnow.com. I love to talk about sales, so you're not bothering me, and so definitely email me.
And I will make sure I put that contact information right on the download for everybody listening.
Yeah, let them know that I really do not mind questions. Because I want these techniques to work for them.
Awesome.
What I do, I am a consultant, and also I started the Triangle Method platform, which is a training platform for just sales. And I've taken my 30 years of experience of all my techniques, templates, and everything, and put it into an online course. So a lot of these techniques that I have given you here are in that. However, much more in detail. Mm-hmm. And that's been really successful because the reason I did this, because I was traveling to all these different companies around the country, which I didn't mind. I love to travel. You know why? I love hotel rooms. I love room service, and I love that they come and clean up my room. So I love the traveling end of it. But I had this one client call me and says that she wants me to come out again. I said, Joy, I was there 6 months ago. And she said, I know, but I got a new team, and so-and-so wasn't really paying attention. And it's like, wow, this is getting costly. And it was actually my husband that said to me, you really need to put this all in one spot. Mm-hmm. So I did the Triangle Method training.com. And then I do the think tanks around the country, which I love too. Think tanks are just all sales all day and around the country.
That's
so
awesome.
I want them to Instagram me. I want to be friends with you on Instagram and Facebook with all your listeners.
Fantastic. So for everyone listening, I will link to all of Meryl's contact information in the show notes, which you could find at thewedpreneur.com/27. and take advantage of this offer, you guys. If you have questions, or if you want to just connect with Meryl, I will have all that contact information for you. Her email again is meryl@merylsnow.com. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. Meryl, it has been such a pleasure chatting with you today.
Mary, I love you. I think we're going to be besties.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Meryl.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Hey, wedpreneurs, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Meryl is such a wealth of information, and she is quite the character, too. Just a quick reminder, you can get the free download from this episode at thewedpreneur.com/27download. That's 27download. Thanks again for tuning in, and don't forget, if you are enjoying the Smart Business for Wedding Pros podcast, I would love it if you would leave me a review on iTunes. It really helps us get heard by more wedding pros. I sure appreciate it, and I hope you guys all have an amazing week. See you soon. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's episode of the Wedpreneur podcast. I'm so incredibly grateful to all of my listeners and would like to take a moment to invite you to keep the conversation going. Head on over to my free online community at thewedpreneur.com/join. If you enjoyed this episode, help us spread the word by leaving us an honest review on iTunes. I appreciate each and every one of you and welcome your feedback. Until next time.